10 years ago, we did not have AI. YouTube has everything.
Yeah.
YouTube, Google has all that information. Now AI is even making it simpler for us. It made the information knowledge much more accessible for us for $20 a month. And you have the infinite knowledge. But then you ask yourself, then why is not everybody so successful and profitable?
Welcome back to the Built for Profit podcast, guys. You are in for a treat today. Zolfia and I have chatted a little bit before ever even getting on a podcast together about just the remarkable things that she's building in the AI world. So I'm like so thrilled for her to talk about that today, kind of dive into the weeds of what she's doing and how she's serving business owners. So yeah, let's just dive in. She's calling in from Boston. Very, very excited to have this conversation. We're in the week of Thanksgiving leading up. She was just telling me she's hosting Thanksgiving this year and she loves it. So that's a gift in itself. So curious to hear how that goes after the end of this week. But Zolfia, welcome to the podcast. Excited
Thank you.
that you're here. And really, if you want to just kick us off, I'd love to hear really your story of how you how did you even get interested in AI, it being so new in the world, and where were you before that and what led you into that world, and kind of tell us how you got to where you're at now.
Yeah, so I started as an accountant. I have an accounting background. I'm a certified
Right.
public accountant. I did not make a cut to public accounting firms. I thought, that was just the end of it. I was very disappointed in myself. And I found myself in corporate accounting, just working with the one company doing the same thing every month, same
Yep.
janitor of the books, cleaning up the books, booking journal entries, doing expense distributions, and then sort of same reporting, massaging data same way. And I'm like, there
Yep.
must be a better way. And then I just got curious, bank reconciliations. How can I
Yep.
automate this? Because I'm doing this every month.
Yep.
And I start spending time on automation. Like some task would take me probably 15 minutes. I'm like, nope, I'm going to spend a day on it on my weekend in the evening trying to see how can I just avoid it so I don't have to do it next month at all.
Love it.
And after that, back then, that was my first introduction to syntax, visual
Yep.
basics.
Yep.
You macros, if you remember,
Yeah.
five. And I was just, oh, this is really cool. And it worked. And
Yep.
I just got hooked after that. Then I started pulling all the reports, mapping them out, like from the system at that time I used Yardi system.
Oh yeah.
So I would just pull them and basically map them out and then start hanging out with the IT department a lot and like seeing what they do. And I'm like, what? You press F5 button and all of a sudden all the information comes in. You like write the syntax. It just got so curious. And I was very fortunate that at that time our CFO saw that and he gave me opportunity to move with no knowledge. And I'm an accountant, right? I
Yeah.
have no computer science degree. I have no information technology degree, and I just moved to that apartment and I learned everything about the Yardi software,
Yep.
everything about report building, just troubleshooting, and spending a lot of my time in uh, querying language in SQL,
Yeah.
basically. In my weekends, my evenings, just sitting on the trains and buses and listening primary key, foreign key, and this is how you join, and that's how you do this. And I was just like, what? And then trying it out. It was just fascinating to me that I could pull information in seconds.
Yeah.
And at that time, there's no AI, right? So just it's
Yeah.
a lot of just manual thing. And I felt like Christmas, I'll tell you. And maybe this is too geek out, but I would make up dummy formula, like I would dummy
Yeah.
a task and I posted on forums at that time. So there
Okay.
was a Stack Overflow forum and just ask people for advice after banging my head for a while. And then
Yeah.
in the morning, somebody would respond and it was like Christmas. Oh my God. Like somebody gave me idea, try this join with this join, try this. And I would try it. And it
Yeah.
worked. And it was just the best thing ever. And
I love that.
just kind of, old school way that I think
Yeah.
just trying to make things work. And I remember every time I just felt like, oh my God, this is magic. Just,
Yeah.
it was just magic. And after that, I got into more business intelligence, data analyst world, and just the volume of data increased. Just how can I go plow? And it just kept going like automation. I was
Yeah.
just very fascinated by automation. Fast forward, I started helping Yardi clients that basically with their reporting, with their automation workflows. And
Yeah.
then in 2023, I kind of went full time and I got more clients and then I started helping construction clients as well. So now that's what I do. AI came in and Yeah, AI came in 2023 as well. Actually, it was in 2022, I believe, in the late 2022 and in 2023. And I was like, all right, this is a fascinating thing. I want to learn about this. I want to see what is it all about, basically. And just little by little started dipping in. In 2024, we started building some custom projects for enterprise clients. So
Yeah.
custom chatbots. And at that time, I mean, looking at now where we are versus where we were, my gosh, like
Yeah.
I be honest, I did not know what I was doing. I was just
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
heads in
How
and
could
just
you? I mean, yeah, it's evolving so quickly. Yeah.
it was evolving very much so. And just getting to used to being in conversation mode. And it just spits up a lot of information and just kind of like, oh, what is it? Like just getting used to it at the beginning was also a process. And now fast forward what we do. So we have full stack when we talk about technology. We
Yeah.
still provide business intelligence, which is basically dashboard, bringing you one source of truth because we see a lot of businesses are still struggling. And you would be like, I'm kind of happy that AI phenomena came in. I'll tell you why. Because there's a lot of businesses still operate like it is early 2000s.
Oh,
They are
no.
on spreadsheets, on Google Sheets. They don't have their data is siloed. They might use multiple systems. They don't talk to each other. So they spend a lot of time manually looking. There's no visibility, no accountability. There are arrows everywhere. So when we come in, we're like, let's see. First of all, let's do assessment. What's going on? Where do we get you? You're right on it. You show profit, right?
Yeah.
Profit needs to be tracked
Yeah. 1,000%.
but profits are sitting in the systems.
Yeah.
And looking at it, what you track improves. If you're not looking at it on daily, weekly basis, if you're looking 30 days as executive to make your decisions, you're making a decision 60 day span.
Oh, for
By
sure.
the time data comes in, 30 days, by the time you make a decision,
Yep.
15 days, and now it's too late because things already happened.
Yep.
So
Yep.
what we do, we bring all that data as one source of truth and give them a clarity so they can actually make most informed decisions. And then on
Yeah.
top of it, with AI now you can have a conversation about data. So you can also not only visually see it, but also ask a quick questions to get
Yeah.
feedbacks.
Yeah. Okay. There's so many things I want to expand on
Yes.
from that tidbit that you gave us there. So before we dive into like what you're building, what you're seeing, kind of the future of where you see a lot of small businesses going and how you're serving them. One of the things I want to point out, I just love that was part of your story is when you were figuring out, I'm not IT, but I want to figure this stuff out and I would work nights and weekends. There is so much power to me. And I try to instill this with our team as well. If you have a 15-minute task that you do repetitively forever, it is worth you spending, I think you said, a full day
Yeah.
to how do I automate this? And most people I think would be like, wait a second, you're going to spend 8 or 9 hours to save you 15 minutes. And I sign up for that all day, every day, if it can save you 15 minutes for the rest of your life. Right.
Yeah.
And so there is so much beauty and power in the discipline for you to go in there and do that, to be like, no, this is something that can be automated. I have a higher value that I need to be doing for my time spent for doing other things. So therefore, I'm going to create a way to automate this thing so it just lasts infinity in the future. So I just love your mindset. And honestly, that tees you up right into exactly what you're getting to do now, serving business owners, why you're so good and passionate about what you're getting to do. And I just love that you came from accounting background, dove into the IT just out of a passion standpoint to go say like, there's got to be a better way to do this. I love
Yeah.
it so much.
Also, one more thing, what it taught me sometimes in my early journey, when I was automating things, yes, I could spend days, 2 days, but it compounded. It gave me a skill. It taught me something that next time I applied to another task, now
Right.
I'm fast forward because now I know, okay, well, this method doesn't work. This works, and this doesn't really worth it because when at
Yeah.
the beginning I was very experimental. I was just kind of
Yeah.
learning, curious about things. But all that skill compounds, and this is very important because I'll tell you something. With AI now, everybody's a beginner.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we have to adopt that mentality of this is a new skill that we need to learn, we
Yep.
need to adapt to because it's not going anywhere. But
No.
people that would know how to tame this beast will be the ones that are marketable.
Yep. Absolutely. Great
And
point.
then if you look at it, for example, 15 years ago, right? 10 years ago, we did not have AI. We had to manually YouTube has everything.
Yeah.
YouTube, Google, forums has all that information. So what I see right now is that now AI is even making it simpler for us. You can use Comet as a browser and then put any YouTube video that you want to and ask it, give me the script of everything that's talking about, give me the top nuggets, tell me something I don't know based on what you know now about me that you can just talk to and extract that information. So it
Yeah.
made us it made the information knowledge much more accessible for us for $20 a month. Some
Yeah.
of these tools are $20 a month and you have the infinite knowledge, but then you ask yourself, then why is not everybody so successful and profitable, right? It's a habit.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Because the people that before leverage YouTube and Google's, now this is just like peanuts for them because they
Yeah.
oh, now I'm going to fast forward because I know my process. I have the habit of learning and gaining new skills and chewing through that process
Yeah.
and getting that critical thinking. Now I can fast forward and use that skill and now I can accelerate my growth. But people that have not utilized something that was there before, did not have created the habit of learning, of habit of studying and deep work are going to struggle because they don't have that process. They don't know what do I get out of this? How do I
Yeah.
use it? What kind of questions do I need to ask from it? So that's just very important. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the important things to think about.
It is so true, and I think to your exact point, you have to get in the habit of being disciplined to use it, to learn it, to understand it, and utilize it for yourself every single day. And I think, I mean, the other side I was thinking about for you, and I can't wait to dive into the kind of the next segment of like what you're doing for small businesses, kind of with the products that you're building out, the services, and then also seeing what you see in the, I guess, in the world of saying like, what are the biggest pain points that you're solving for people. But I think going back to just the AI versus, even you mentioned profitability or the decisions to become profitable. AI is not going to always just solve your profit problem. It's just going to expose what it is. So then you can make the correct direction for you as an owner to go in there and actually see what needs to be done to fix it. Right. And so, because I love, because we're both part of the whole Dan Martell world, but I love how he says everything is either a people problem or a process problem, but
Yeah.
you always start with the process, right? And in
Yes.
my mind, AI falls within the world of kind of a process, right? And so you still have people inside of a business, and then AI is taking more of the process
Yeah.
side driven. But I just think there's so much power in thinking about whenever there's a problem, you can isolate it down into two things, and how do you approach it to go fix the problem? So that's really, really cool.
But not everything is AI.
Yes.
There's not everything is AI. As I mentioned, for example, connecting your data from different siloed systems, that's just automation.
Yeah.
That is just automation of having a code, hard coded
That's right.
code that runs in the background and pulls the data the same way, gets processed the same way, so you have the most consistent output.
Yeah. Yeah.
AI does not have a consistent output
Yeah. That's a great point.
because it's generative AI. Each time it's a statistical model that's works on probabilities. So it
Yeah.
basically has it's gobbled through a lot of, let's use some Thanksgiving terms. It gobbled through a lot of data that's been out there from the internet, from all the books and articles and everything. And it
Yeah.
created just statistics, probabilities based on this word, based on the lamp, light is
Yep.
probably the next probable word for it. And now, because it has such a massive amount of data, it can make the most consistent outputs basically
Yeah.
when it comes to like if you ever noticed on ChatGPT, there's a thumbs up, thumbs down version.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you have ever used it, if you have given the feedback.
Yeah.
They use that to
Oh, for
basically
sure.
say, well, how was this answer? Was this answer that it actually answered right? But on the back end, what it's doing is like, all right, did it predict it right? That's what it is. Did it
That's right.
predict the next word, the next correlation of sentences correctly?
Yeah.
And if you ask the same question from AI, it will not give you the same answer each time. It will
Yep.
change the words, the position, because it's generative. So that's why companies need to understand what makes sense. Is it just automation?
Yep.
Or is this, for example, artificial intelligence that we need to use? If it's just a plain automation, then you can save yourself time and money on fine tuning the model or making sure that you are not sitting there and tweaking it constantly because it takes time to train it to
Yeah.
make sure you have the most reliable outputs on it. Yes, we use a $20 models right now. For example, Gemini, right? Now
Yeah.
3 came out, but at the same time, these models are very general. if you want to apply to your business, it needs to really learn everything about your business, all the
Yep.
details, how your process works, how your systems, what do you use, what your steps that you take. It has to
Yeah.
reason with it. So it needs a training. Can you just like land it in and be like, all right, now let's go?
Yep. Okay, I am so glad you explained the difference between those 2 things because that is critical for people. I even like it was just helpful for me to even understand it just the way you just explained that because it makes so much sense when you think about the difference between automation and artificial intelligence because they're 2 vastly different things. I love the
Yes.
probability comment. I think that is brilliant. So I think that's gonna help a ton of people when you think about, okay, what needs to happen to improve our company moving forward? Is it automation or is it AI or is it a combination of leveraging both based on the whatever you're doing? And
Yes.
so I think that is so, so, so helpful. Okay, Sophia, let's dive in because I want to spend most of the conversation talking about
Okay.
what you're building and what you're doing because this is so exciting for me. So for you, I'm curious, like, what are your main bread and butter, like services, products, whatever you want to call them, that you're building currently right now that you've seen a need in the small business market that you're fulfilling? Let's start there. I would love to know just kind of what are your packages of things that you're
Yeah.
delivering to people?
So it goes back to how I started actually. And I did some revaluation of my business and I was like, all right, what am I good at? What can I consistently deliver that people still need? And
Yeah,
that goes back to one source of truth that we all need first, then to build any automations or any AI on top of it.
yeah,
So what I do, my bread and butter, I provide business intelligence solutions. What that means, data analytics. So I combine different systems. So for example, we're talking about property management companies.
yeah,
They use Yardi. So what we do, we have created for them packaged reports. And now nobody manually has to download that Excel, has to then basically download multiple reports, do some VLOOKUP formulas, do some match, whatever it is. Nope. We have built a hard-coded data set on the back end. So then we know that the data gets pulled each time, same way to present certain type of occupancy, delinquency,
yeah,
NOI metrics, leasing metrics that they look at. And it has a consistency and it also has a high result because we elevating the human error where somebody is like, for example, run a wrong formula. Or if the executives are asking about the report and I'm talking about property management companies and they are sometimes also construction companies that have a
yeah,
lot of volume of data,
yeah,
for example.
yep,
They would need to look, okay, what's my occupancy across all my portfolio, across thousands of units that we have
yep,
that I want to see right now, I want to see on a weekly basis. I don't want somebody to now go in there like, oh, by demand, go download this, do all of this gymnastics, Excel gymnastics each time because the data gets refreshed each time. Each time the new records show up in the system. So that's one of them. And then another one that we do for construction as well, they use Sage, for example.
yeah,
So what we see, they use Sage and the same thing, they get all their data loaded in Sage, but then it's manual. If they
yep,
use also build ops, sometimes they use two systems. So they have to if they don't talk to each other or if the integration did not go well. So then they have to do manual. They sometimes even use QuickBooks
yeah,
in
yeah,
between to move data from QuickBooks to Sage, then to build ops. I mean, so all of that gymnastics. So I come in and be like, all right, one source of truth. How
yeah,
can I automate the data load back and forth? How can I present you one dashboard that your executives, your foremans are looking at? So you catching your profitability of your projects, of your jobs, of
so
your
good.
service agreements, not 30 days later,
Yeah,
not 45 days later, but right now. Are you
yeah,
profitable? So you're not surprised.
yeah,
But again, these large companies have a lot of volumes of data. And
yeah,
sometimes Excels is just hard to read. They don't
yeah,
like,
yeah,
they're not visual, they're not digestible.
yeah,
And something that I ask from my clients, I'm like, okay, so we know that we're saving manual labor hours. That's 100% now. It's digitalized, so nobody's putting together. So we know that. But what's other benefit that you see now that you have implemented this? Oh my
yeah,
gosh, making the executive now successful, right? Because the CEOs, CFOs now can make informed decisions right now, can lead the teams of clarity, the investors, the owners. So they can provide jobs, right? Because if they're
yep,
not successful, they can't support the new projects that come in, the
yep,
jobs, the people that get hired, for example. And we're talking about in the construction, right? There's so many layers of the reporting they do. What's happening with your injuries? People
Yeah.
are out. Workers' compensation costs. Why is it up? What's happening, for example? And now nobody's digging through like the spreadsheets of Sage, going and pulling things and what's happening. And then
Yeah.
now it's only at the time of the record that they're looking at because it's
Yeah.
not refreshing. It's not live data. By the
Yeah.
time they're looking at it, it's already old. So that's what our one source of truth of data. How can we first clean up your data, provide you with tools to make the most informed decisions, to make you successful, to make your company successful?
Yeah.
Profit tracking, profit KPIs that you're looking at. For
Yeah.
example, that's what we do. And then after that, we look at other processes and see what else we can automate them.
Okay, so there's two things I'm thinking about here I'd love for you to kind of dive a little deeper into. So I'm curious, as you built these things for clients to find the single source of truth,
Yes.
updated on a daily basis, basically, how much do you see exposes bad data going into those softwares to produce bad data out, right? So I'm thinking about like all the people you still need to plug in a receipt or plug in something that they were off that day or PTO or all the things that you're tracking, right?
Yeah.
And how many people do it incorrectly, so therefore it's impossible for you to deliver something that's accurate because it came in inaccurate. So I'm curious, can you talk to that a little bit? Do you train people on how to do things correctly now based on their softwares, or how do you approach something like that?
This is such a good question. And every time we do reporting, it opens that with every report. We've seen
Exactly.
that so many times because when they do Excel, it's really hard to track, right? Because they're looking at it maybe once a month and then it's like outdated stale data, quickly looking at it. It's not really organized. It's not really easy to digest.
Yeah.
Rates. If they change the rate in the system, for example. And now all of a sudden, well, what's happening with our services? Why is it down? Our service agreements, for example, or projects or jobs, because the rates that were inputted incorrectly in the system and now are showing the old legacy rate instead of new rates. So that's very one of them. So now, profits are down. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
with fat fingered on the back end. Okay. Like, for example, when they enter in the front end in the system, it
Yep.
flows the data, flows on the back end. So that's where I pick it up, for
Yep.
example. And whenever I do my QA QC process, I always, yes, I take the data that comes on the back end, but I match it with a front end to make sure that
Okay.
what I see on the back end
Yep.
matches on that.
Yeah.
But when they catch it, it's like numbers are down. What happened? Our rates were like this. Well, show me the rate. Well, no, that's our old rate.
Yeah.
So now they invoice the old rate, for example, to the
Yeah.
client.
And the beauty of what you're doing is that it exposes them earlier rather than 30 or 60 days later when they actually get the data from somewhere else. Right.
Or months after.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's been like that months after.
Yeah. That's
For example, what we had one client, they had an audit and and we were preparing reconciliations for them. And all of a sudden they noticed, I'm like, why is things are not matching? Well, because they had old rates, for
yeah.
example. But it was months after. They didn't even catch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or when we talk about Yardi, so there is a residential utility billing that they have to do. So
Yeah.
RUBS, for example, and sometimes so they pay some of the utilities, property management, and then they have to distribute them to their tenants, for example. Well,
Okay.
sometimes that goes south as well. Sometimes the amount they distribute could be under, so they overpay on their end, and the reconciliation is not done because they have a lot of units, they have massive portfolio.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's hard to keep track when Excel was done. But now it's like, and all of a sudden when I give it to them, they're like, this doesn't look right. And I'm like, it matches the front end. And then they start looking at all of this. Like, oh, that's what happened. Oh, now let's go back and fix these and all of that
Yeah.
issues. Yeah.
So I'm curious in that same lane, have you ever tried to, or like, have you ever done research and or are there solutions out there to help people automate the front end entry? And in a very simplistic view, one of the examples I'm thinking of is that like when you're collecting mileage for somebody that has a stipend car or whatever, they can download mileage IQ and it's just, they're not manually going into some database to type in how many miles they drove. So are you also trying to help people with that? Or is that something that you're like, hey, y'all got to figure out what works in the field with boots on the ground, and we'll figure out the back end to make sure that the data is accurate once we get it.
That's a pure automation right there. What you just said, this is pure automation. This is where we first, right, when we build the one source of truth, we identify all these problems because all these problems come out. Oh, what did happen? How did it happen? And then we suggest for example, solutions for them. It's interesting. I was in Texas this year and Uber driver basically was telling me, so, I told him what I do, and he just, oh, really? You do that? I'm like, he just unpacked what he does, and he works some warehouse basically, and every week he has to do exactly that. Every week somebody submits timesheets, and in Excel, multiple Excels, one person to another, and then he doesn't punch them in the system on time or doesn't give it the person on time because he's a supervisor. Yeah, this is what it is. He's a supervisor. So everybody submits stuff to him, but it's
Yeah.
all in different format and different templates, and it's not consistent. So he has to go clean it up each week. Then he has to give to the lady that has to now input that all in the system, but he doesn't do that on time, and that because he doesn't have enough time. And I'm like, listening
Yeah.
to all of this, and I literally drew out, I had my remarkable, I was like, this is what you do. Let me just draw out the entire process for him. And I drew out the entire process of how he can automate this. This is simple automation that could just automate the entire Google Sheets, just a Google Sheets. Create a one template that, and then define the things that you wanted. Go to talk to that lady if there is a way to upload that template.
Yeah.
So get that template first from that lady, from that system, so you know what template the system takes in, and then teach your people to submit the information in that template, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was just a simple little thing that I drew out step by step
Yeah.
from basically literally drawing the template one, template two, and how he can collect the information, what the process. He's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like, can I pay you for this? I'm like, don't worry about it.
But I love that you're solving that problem because that's how I always see these things is that there's always issues to fix before the data even gets from boots on the ground
Yes.
into the initial system on the front end, like you mentioned. And then obviously you have major solutions on the back end stuff to provide the data. So I just think that's fascinating. I love that you're kind of in both of those things. So then my second question, as you're building these things out, like with Yardi or QuickBooks or whatever softwares that are out there, Sage, that you're building these like dashboards for people. I'm curious if each of these companies has their own IT department that they're focused on AI and all that kind of stuff. I'll use QuickBooks as an example. Massive Intuit, huge organization.
Yes.
We know AI is coming into that world. It already is, but it's hopefully will continue to prove in the world of QuickBooks. So I'm curious what your viewpoint is on what you're willing to go custom build now, knowing that there's a potential solution coming down the road for some of these organizations because they do have the capital one day to do it. They're just slow to the game. So
That's
I'm just
such a good
curious what your
question.
thought is.
That's such a good question, Austin. So we work on with property management construction companies. This is what we work with. We work with their Yardi system. We also work with their Sage system, for example, BuildOps and Procore as well. And literally 2 weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, actually, it was at the end of October. Procore is one of the huge property management software for construction space, basically.
Yeah.
Kicked out Trunk Tools. Trunk Tools wanted to automate processes within the property management, the project management. It's a project management system.
Okay.
So it wanted to implement its own agents that will collect the data from the Procore, from the project management system, so they can basically, query a
Yeah.
project management data
Yeah.
inside of Procore.
Yeah.
Well, Procore said basically,
Not letting
nope,
you do it.
we change our API accesses, kicked them out, and there was a also conference that they were part of, refunded even their money.
Wow. Yeah.
So this is like what you just saying. These big guys, for example, Procore is a huge project management
Yeah.
software for construction. They wanted to build, and they have a beta right now inside their own AI agents within the platform. They don't want external parties
Yeah. Yeah.
taking access to their data and build AI agents.
That's
So who owns the data? Then the big question: is it a vendor? Is it
great
a
question.
contractor?
Interesting.
Right? Who owns it then? Big question then for us as AI developers, because I have the AI agents, we need to be cautious of building our software and our products on a rented space.
Yeah. Great point. Great point. So how do you get around? Like, that's what I'm curious. Like, how do you do that without knowing that you might get X'd out? And just to put this in layman's terms for anybody that's listening that doesn't have a clue about what AI is, the best way I can describe it is it's like committing and building out a portfolio of Airbnbs in one single location, and then that city saying we no longer allow Airbnbs, and now your
Yes,
whole
exactly.
business model's ruined, right? And so for you, how do you bridge the gap to be like this is a safe bridge to build versus I don't know.
Yeah, no, was a great thing. I went to Build Week organized by Suffolk Technologies. They are one of the largest construction company. They're 6 billion over company, construction company here in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And they have an entire accelerator for 8 weeks that they bootstrap these startups that are building AI agents in construction.
Yeah.
So that was a buzz thing for everybody. It's like, oh my God, I'm building these things and I don't want to get canceled out, booted out, for example, from the soft or data that I'm building on top of. So luckily, I'm not doing that. So my AI agents that I'm building on internal document, internal
Yeah.
historical data. That means I'm taking their SOPs. Large construction companies have their SOPs training, have RFPs, for example, that they
Yeah.
look at. So that is all internal documentation that basically our AI agent can read through, plow through, and provide them information
Yeah.
real time with the verified page numbers and all of that. But that's another thing I want to say on Yardi side, for example. Yardi has created their own agentic workflow capabilities marketplace. Basically, they are opening up their own in-house AI agentic workflow where you can build, but you will build inside of Yardi, if that makes sense. And then you can sell that to other Yardi clients,
Oh,
the other
interesting.
Yardi
Okay,
users.
so they're saying build it in-house, but then you can also reap the benefits of building it in-house, basically.
Exactly. So what I'm seeing there right now, for example, um, I'm kind of seeing the same parallels when it comes with analytics. Because if you think about this, right, Sage or Yardi, for example, they have analytics it comes with.
Yeah.
For example, they have their dashboard that it comes with, but they have a lot of users. They can't tailor to each individual person
Yeah.
on how to build it or like, for example, custom made, how they look at it, how they want it. It would be impossible for them because they have all the other features they have to take care of and deliver on, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I do there is I take Yardi data that the client has and and I'm not using any AI provider, for example. I'm using Microsoft products to visualize that data.
Yeah. Okay.
So then what you're already saying, okay, if you want to build AI agents, build it inside of my system,
Yeah.
and then you can sell it to other to other Yardi users,
Yeah.
for example.
Because pulling the data is the same with all these different users because it's all one system. Yeah.
Exactly. So you are not kind of like a, so that makes sense. Same thing with Procore. Procore is coming up with their own beta agents, and it
Yeah.
probably will also have, I would say, contractors or specialists that specialize around Procore data
Yeah.
that could go and build that for Procore users.
Yeah.
But a Procore would be like a Procore, for example, but they will
Yeah.
have independent contractors or other contracting companies and firms that will build those integrations for Procore users.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So just from an analogy standpoint, I'm curious if this is similar or not. Using Yardi or Procore, in the way I picture in my mind, it's almost like an iPhone saying that these contractors can go build iPhone apps that work on this device.
That's
And then
right.
now you can sell it inside of that same other people that buy iPhones.
That's right. That's
Right.
a good
Okay.
point. That's a very good way of saying it. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But you can't come in as a separate entity, basically, and then use my Procore or Yardi. Well, Yardi right now has not put that restriction, but for Procore, in that case, for example, Trunk Tools, right? They were using Procore data and now basically being, okay, well, we can use your data and provide you with the information that's coming with the project tools.
Got it.
You will be our user. You will not be Procore user.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is super interesting. It's kind of like the Wild Wild West a little bit.
It is.
Everybody figuring it out of saying like, okay, who's going to lean on what, who's going to partner together, who's not going to partner, who's going to severe relationships. I mean, it's kind of wild. So interesting. Okay. So I love that. So obviously building out, and sorry, I feel like we could talk for years about this stuff. I just love it. But okay, you're building out the business metrics. You also, I've talked in the previous of building out voice.
Yes.
Can you dive into that? Because I know there's some people out there that are just like, how does AI even do voice? What does that look like? How does it even work for you from a business standpoint? So kind of go into that world a little bit of what you're doing there.
Yeah. So we have two AI agents that we built. One is a voice agent, Vicky. Vicky picks up every call, so it's a receptionist, and sometimes it could also be outbound, facilitate outbound calls, but only solicited ones. only the ones that, for example, people sign up for the campaign and it blasts out everybody, hey guys, don't miss out on the discount or this promo that we have. We want to make sure you got it. Only the ones that signed up for this.
Okay.
But most of the times we're using it as AI receptionists. People call for different type of service businesses and answer questions. And actually had a great chat yesterday with one of my clients, and they said, no, it's a great product. It works. It's doing what it needs to be doing. So we're happy with it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So what it does, it basically picks up every call and inputs all the information into their CRM. So if they're using Go High Level, Monday, or if they use, for example, House Call Pro.
Yeah.
And the way what I see is just a little note on these smaller, I mean, they are consumer, let's say the Monday.com, Go High Level, as well as House Call Pro. Like they are much smaller, the CRMs. I don't see them blocking the API as much
Yeah.
because you see they're integrated with a lot of AI tools freely, for example, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so what we do is we collect the information, it collects information from the caller, and the next time that caller calls, it recognizes.
Oh,
So
cool.
if you call, for example, well, we did it for cleaning business.
Yeah.
If Austin first time calls and asks for the cleaning, oh, I want to clean my apartment. Next time you call to change your schedule, for example, or say, hey, I want to now do twice a month, for example, clean. It knows it's you. So it
Oh,
will tell you, oh, hi, thanks for calling us again. How can I help you? So it doesn't
that's
ask you again for your phone number or
fantastic.
like,
Love it.
you know, just kind of blazes through what would you like to have, and then it
Yeah.
queues it up for a person or whatever the workflow looks like.
Yeah.
So, and then it gives them summaries. And then every time when you hung up the call, it sends you a text follow up. Hey, thanks so much, Austin, for calling us about X. Somebody will get back to you or whatever the course of action is. And then also what we're doing is once you done with your cleaning service, let's say the crew came in and finished, you get immediate text message. Austin, how was your experience? Do you like it? Can you please rate us? Boom link. So
Wow.
what it does, it's kind of like this automation with AI together because it's AI is basically answering the calls, processing the information, logging
Yep.
things in the system, providing a summary so everybody knows what Austin talked about, what Austin wants, everything in Monday.com. And it can also connect multiple systems. So we
Oh,
connect in
cool.
that case, for example, Monday.com, so the records in Monday.com,
Yep.
also in Go High Level as well.
Yeah.
For example, everything is in there. And then we give out the dashboard. So dashboard shows, all right, how many calls we have from existing versus our new leads, for example, new clients.
Yep.
What's the conversions like? How much revenue it's giving?
Interesting.
So that really helps because I'm bringing my business intelligence swing
Yeah.
into it. So it gives the visibility to our clients that before they would not have even tracked their numbers. Now they
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
track, all right, from the first time this person calls, what's my conversion amount? Did
Yeah.
they convert or not? Like how many of new callers, 20 callers, how many of them converted, for example? And how much revenue did they bring in?
Yeah.
What was my revenue over the trend over time?
Yeah.
Because, you know, so we give that and people love it because they didn't have that before. They couldn't measure it before.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
now,
Just
yes,
real quick, Sophia, I just love this so much because yeah, part of, I think, once again, if I go back to front end data collection, people have to typically before AI, a person would have to answer the phone, log the data, and then also go transfer all that from the phone into whatever the data source is
yes,
so that the tracking can actually happen to see conversions and all the things that you're tracking. Now, because if a machine does it, it never forgets to then transfer all the data over for the tracking
yes,
system of it. And so all of that happens without having to lift a finger based on what you're built for these
yeah,
people to be actually get true, real data that no one forgot to log that information about
yes,
when you're looking at some of these trends. And I think there is so much power when people start thinking about any aspect of their business to say, like, not only do we have a system of doing it, but how many people just forget to do the system and forget to do the last part of the system to log the
yes,
data because they're doing the work in the first place. And I think there's just massive power as we continue to explore this AI world and leaning into that. That's really, really neat.
yes. We're onboarding another Vicky on electrician in December as well. We're on a final rounds right now on our testing. It would
Cool.
be same thing. They would be called, they would be vetted. Sometimes also what happens, first because there's so many calls that's
Yeah.
happening, sometimes also needs to qualify. Hey, is
Yeah.
this even the call that we can help this person?
Great point.
If they only service my electrician, for example, they're mostly on the commercial side, right?
Yeah.
Only with few exception on the residential side how do we make sure that we are talking to the right people as well? And as you mentioned, logging them in the system and also making sure that we have the full track record of, are we doing proper follow-ups, for example? How do we not miss, how do we avoid things falling through the cracks?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so good. And so, and I want, like I said, we could go forever on talking about this stuff. One thing I want to shout out you for is that we'll link all of your stuff in the show notes for people to go find you, because I want people to know what it's like to even hear someone that's speaking from a AI voice compared to what everybody's used to when you call the 1-800 number and you get the phone system that says, hello, can you press 1 to go to this option, 2 to this option? It's like, it is night and day differently, so much so that I think we're getting to a point now where you don't even know if it's a real person or not a real person based on how, like, intelligent the AI system is that's talking to you. So, any other thing to add to that just from as you're building these things out?
Yes, absolutely. And I have one thing I want to disclaimer. I still, here's the thing. Everybody could build voice agents, to be honest. Just go on YouTube and Google how to build voice agent.
Yeah.
So there's lots of options to build them. And you can probably, if you pound your head, in 2 days, you probably could build. So delivery is a different thing. So everybody could just do demos right now. Everybody could just do vibe coding right now, for example, right? When they just speak in the English and now all of a sudden syntax is written on your behalf. But if you wanted that thing to be actually working well, provide a great customer experience, not screwing up on the calls, not chewing up the names, not chewing
Yeah.
up emails, for example, right? And actually have a context behind it,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of manual work. And it's interesting, I'll tell you, you cannot automate something that you don't know exact process of.
Yeah. That's a great point.
But that exact process comes with manual work.
Yeah.
First, you need to go in the weeds and listening to every single call.
Yeah.
I've done it. Every single call. Picking up those little, okay, did the customer like it or not?
Yeah.
Did it provide a good answer for the question that they ask? Did it interrupted them, for example? Did it rush through as well? Was the wait too long for them to think that somebody is there or not?
Yeah.
All of these little details, for example,
So good.
it all took just manual banging, 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 and then tweaking, making
Yeah.
sure we implement that change,
Yeah.
making sure then we test that change. And then we again supervise the agent, because really of a great customer service just takes a lot of work and knowledge and also business acumen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also some heart as well, right? Because we want to make sure that customers that they
1,000%.
call, they
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
just giving all my experience and just me as well,
Right.
as I'm a consumer, where am I ready to give out to machine? What am I not ready to give out to machine, for example? Where do we need the human to come in and step in and actually provide the full complete sentence,
Yeah.
complete service?
Yeah. Well, Zolfi, I mean, for you, I just shout out for you. I think it's maybe a little bit of your accounting background or just the just zone in of details that you have, but your willingness to go in and listen to make the tweaks, exactly what you were just talking about, is so powerful to me, because like I just feel like people that don't pay attention to the details that are trying to provide an excellent service for their customers will not spend the time to go do that. And I love that you do that, because it's a lesson that all of us need to learn to say, like, nope, we have to measure what we expect happens. And measuring sometimes is getting in the nitty gritty of diving in and spending hours and hours and hours going back to quality control something to make sure it meets our expectations and our standards. So shout out to you for doing that, Sophia. I
Thank
just
you.
love that you spent the time to go do that to provide a great service and product that you're building out. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay. So really, I do want to hear before we wrap up, as you're building this service out, what do you feel like right now is giving you kind of the biggest momentum in your company that you're like, man, we're doing things well? And then I'm also curious, just in the world about, or really just in your business in general, what do you feel like is the current bottleneck that you see that you're trying to focus on and work on right now?
Oh, that's such a good question. We're getting really good momentum on my clarity on serving the clients that I have the most experience in, doing what I know the most and compounding on it.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
Just keeping my focus very narrow,
Yeah.
working around the technologically stack for the systems that I know, Yardi, Sage, that I'm talking to you about, Build Ops, for example.
Yep.
Knowing those systems, what they provide, knowing the back end of it, and
Yep.
then knowing how to tie them out. So just kind of going all on in instead
Yeah.
of getting distracted. And also what I like is that our Vicky is giving a great feedback. We fine-tune it. It's doing really good.
Cool.
So that's awesome because it also as a founder, it's your product. You want to
Yeah, yeah,
really offer something that really works and provides value.
yeah,
It's not about money, as you know, Austin. It's all about like just if I'm passionate about seeing my customers win and I want to really create a great product
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
it's helpful and I want to show it to as many people as possible because it's like, hey, this is awesome, right?
yeah,
And then we have our Farman agent, which is our knowledge based agent that goes through internal docs and also focusing on, all right, who's our ICP on that? Who can we show the benefit of that? And kind of just doing those things, for
yeah,
example. I think the second question, the bottleneck, right, that you
yeah,
mentioned. And I am a classic entrepreneur, but hope I'm learning better, is that I get very curious and I try to solve every problem that's out
yeah,
there because I was like, oh, I can figure this out. I can figure that out. Well, I think that that is a great thing, but also not so great thing
yeah,
because it loses focus, it loses
yeah.
momentum, and also dilutes the revenue, dilutes your profits
Yes,
because
absolutely.
building products takes a lot of time. But I would say one of the biggest things is as entrepreneurs that they start is doing that one thing and doing that very well, not get distracted by a lot of shiny things and thinking they are FOMO.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And I will say that's honestly been a common theme on this podcast, going back to the early days of building anything. And obviously, you and me too, even are in the early days of building this hopefully decades long thing that we're building. I think the common theme is always you say yes to so many things just to get dollars coming in the door, right? That you're unwilling to do once you're years ahead to be like, why did I do that? That was dumb for me to do because if I would have just stayed focused, I could have built, scaled it and, simple scales, that whole concept, right? But it's hard to do that at the beginning because you don't have money coming in the door and you got to figure out a way to bring money in the door. And so I think that's a great point, Zofia. I love it. Well, cool. I love what you're doing. Like I said, we could spend 4 more hours, but I do have to wrap up here. So, is there anything else that we haven't talked about today that's just kind of on your heart or fired up to talk about?
No, I think I've covered a lot of things. I'm very grateful for being on your podcast here and
Yeah.
sharing my journey here.
Well, thank you so much for being on, Sophia. So, real quick, if people want to find out more about you, where do they go?
Yes, they can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And if you're coming from this podcast, you just say profit, and I will send you. I have this AI tips that I have accumulated and I've been accumulating that I'm growing this thing. Everything
Yeah.
I learned about AI, how to do better prompt engineer, how to generate the images, or how to write and evaluate your LinkedIn page, or how to write even like, we evolving as my knowledge grows, I'm
Yeah.
basically packing it all in, and there's just a profit. I'll send you that link. I'll send you that Notion link.
Yeah, definitely send her the word profit to get that. I know it's going to be extremely, extremely valuable. We'll put all that in the show notes. And Zofia, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you.